Kareem Al Zahiri thought he married the love of his life. Sofia Rehman thought she could keep her secrets buried. But when Zayn Arman, her ex-lover, followed them into their honeymoon, a deadly triangle formed. In a place meant for paradise, betrayal led to bloodshed, and by the time Detective Fadil Qureshi arrived, only one thing was certain: someone wasn't coming back alive. The wedding of Kareem Al Zahiri and Sofia Rehman was the kind of event that filled the pages of luxury magazines. Held at a private resort on Jumeirah's coast, the venue sparkled under hundreds of lanterns and diamond-white drapery that danced in the desert breeze. Guests from around the world attended: elite businessmen, fashion icons, and celebrities. Every moment was curated for social media perfection, from the gold-trimmed invitation cards to the custom-made floral wall bearing the initials K and S. Kareem, a 32-year-old real estate tycoon, had built a reputation as one of Dubai's most eligible bachelors. Reserved and soft-spoken, he avoided the spotlight despite his immense wealth. But falling in love with Sofia changed that. She was vibrant, outspoken, and a rising star in the influencer world. Her online followers adored her lavish lifestyle, daily outfit updates, and her seemingly perfect relationship. For Kareem, Sofia was everything he thought he needed: beauty, class, and charm wrapped in a single smile. The wedding was their way of showing the world their happiness. But behind the bright lights and filtered photos, a much darker story had already begun to take root. Kareem started noticing things just days before the wedding. Sofia had become strangely secretive about her phone, jumping to check notifications, and often stepping away from conversations to take private calls. He convinced himself it was just nerves or the stress of wedding planning. But a small, growing doubt began to whisper in the back of his mind. During the pre-wedding festivities, he caught a glimpse of a message notification on her phone. The sender's name was simply Z. The message disappeared before he could see more, but the unease it brought lingered. That night, he sat alone on the balcony of their suite, the city skyline stretching out before him, questioning whether he truly knew the woman he was marrying. Sofia, on the other hand, was torn between two worlds. While she had agreed to marry Kareem, part of her heart still clung to a past that hadn't fully ended. Zayn Arman, a luxury travel photographer, had been more than just a fling. Their relationship had been intense and passionate, filled with secrecy and adrenaline. But Zayn had never promised stability. Kareem did. Marrying Kareem was a step into security, wealth, and public admiration, things Zayn could never give her. What Sofia didn't expect was that Zayn would reappear in her life shortly before the wedding, begging for a second chance. The timing couldn't have been worse, or perhaps it was exactly what she had hoped for deep down. Against all logic, she kept in contact with him, texting and planning to meet once more after the wedding. On the day of the ceremony, Kareem watched Sofia walk down the aisle in a custom Elie Saab gown. She looked angelic, glowing under the soft lights. But to Kareem, something felt off. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Her gaze flitted across the crowd nervously, and her hands trembled slightly as she placed the ring on his finger. After the vows were exchanged and the champagne flowed, Kareem continued observing her closely. She laughed with guests, posed for pictures, and danced to traditional music. But there were moments when she would slip away, just for a minute too long. He noticed her whispering with her best friend, Layla Darwish, more than once, always ending with glances cast in his direction. Later that night, as they arrived at the private villa reserved for them, Kareem checked Sofia's phone while she was in the shower. The password had changed. He didn't confront her. He said nothing. Instead, he booked the honeymoon the next morning to a remote island known for its beauty and isolation. A place with no paparazzi, no distractions, and no excuses. The world saw a newlywed couple starting their dream life together. But behind the curtains of wealth and glamour, Kareem was already planning something else, a quiet unraveling of the truth. And as they boarded the seaplane to paradise, he knew their love story wasn't going to have a fairy tale ending. The honeymoon began with every detail arranged to perfection. Kareem had chosen Surbani As Island not only for its exclusivity, but also for its isolation. The private villa they checked into overlooked turquoise waters and untouched beaches. Wild gazelles roamed nearby, and the atmosphere was serene. But beneath the beauty, tension simmered quietly between husband and wife. Sofia appeared excited. For the cameras, sharing curated snapshots with her followers, sunset selfies, poolside breakfasts, and loving captions. But off-camera, her behavior was far from affectionate. She spent long hours on her phone, usually stepping out onto the balcony or locking herself in the bathroom under the excuse of skincare routines. Kareem never asked questions. He watched, quietly noticing every detail, storing everything like evidence. On the second day, Kareem pretended to sleep while Sofia crept out to the resort's private lounge. He followed her at a distance and saw her on a video call. Her face lit up in a way he hadn't seen in weeks. The call ended quickly when she noticed another guest approaching. She slipped her phone into her robe and returned as if nothing had happened. Kareem remained composed, offering her a drink and acting like the loving husband everyone assumed he was. Sofia had no idea that her every move was being tracked. Kareem had quietly installed monitoring software on her phone during the wedding night. Every message, call, and location ping was sent to his device. That night, while Sofia slept soundly beside him, Kareem lay awake, reading her conversations with someone she saved in her contacts as Z. The messages were filled with longing, promises, and plans. Zayn was nearby. He had been flying around the Emirates, photographing coastal resorts, and had purposely chosen one close to Surbani Yaz. They had already discussed meeting in secret. By the third day, Sofia had grown careless. She lied about heading to the resort spa and instead took a boat taxi to a secluded beach on the other side of the island. Kareem followed without confronting her. He watched from a distance, hidden among palm trees, as Sofia embraced Zayn. They spent 2 hours together, walking along the beach, laughing and taking photos. The betrayal unfolded before Kareem's eyes, not just emotional but physical. His world shattered quietly, without a word spoken. When she returned, she pretended to be exhausted from a massage. Kareem smiled and poured her wine, playing the role of a loving husband. She never noticed how cold his touch had become. He spent that night on the terrace, staring into the sea. There was no more uncertainty. The woman he had loved, trusted, and married had been living a double life. But what disturbed Kareem more than the infidelity was the calm with which Sofia continued the deception. It wasn't guilt that guided her, it was calculation. She had planned every move, believing Kareem too blinded by love to see the truth. The next morning, Kareem surprised her with plans for a romantic private yacht cruise. He told her it was a final treat before they returned to Dubai. She smiled, flattered by the gesture, never suspecting that the man beside her had spent the last 48 hours collecting evidence, building a timeline, and imagining the moment of confrontation. As they boarded the yacht later that afternoon, the sun was bright, the sea calm, and the skies clear. Sofia dressed in white again, not unlike her wedding dress, and posed on the deck for pictures, unaware that this cruise was not about celebration, but revelation. Kareem said little during the ride. He let her talk, let her believe everything was fine. The yacht drifted away from the island's coast, into deeper waters, far from shore, far from help, and far from truth. And as the golden hour painted the sea with its warm light, the perfect honeymoon continued, at least for one of them. For the other, it was the beginning of a storm no one else would see coming. The yacht cut smoothly across the calm Arabian waters, its engines humming faintly beneath the laughter of seagulls overhead. Kareem and Sofia stood on the upper deck, the breeze tugging at her hair while the sun set gently behind them. To any outsider, it looked like a scene from a honeymoon dream, newlyweds wrapped in luxury, celebrating their fresh beginning. But beneath the surface of this picture-perfect voyage, darker tides were rising. Kareem had spent the last few days preparing for this exact moment. Every word, every gesture was planned. He didn't confront Sofia with anger or chaos. He didn't shout, accuse, or threaten. Instead, he handed her a small leather-bound folder, the kind used for real estate contracts. Sofia, caught off guard, opened it casually. Inside were printed screenshots, messages, photos, locations, timestamps, all meticulously arranged. Her smile faltered. Her hands stopped moving. For the first time in days, she was truly silent. Kareem watched her reaction, his own face unreadable. She didn't try to deny the affair. There was no point. Every detail was there. The secret meetings, the coded conversations, even a reservation under a false name at the island resort. Spa, everything laid bare. Sofia placed the folder down and turned her back to him. She walked to the edge of the deck, gripping the railing tightly. The silence stretched long between them, broken only by the soft waves against the hull. What Kareem expected in that moment was perhaps regret or apology. But what he saw was something colder: calculation, not remorse. Just silence. As the sun dipped lower, the yacht's crew, 3 men hired for the day, retreated below deck, as instructed earlier. Kareem had paid extra for privacy. They were under strict orders not to disturb unless called. Now, only Kareem and Sofia remained above, with the sea stretching endlessly in all directions. What happened next remains a foggy mystery, even to investigators. Hours later, just before midnight, a distress signal was sent from the yacht. When rescue services arrived, they found Kareem alone, sitting near the edge of the deck, soaked in seawater, hands shaking. There was blood on his shirt and a shallow wound on his temple. He told them Sofia had fallen overboard during an argument and that he had dived in after her, but failed to reach her. The sea had taken her. Rescuers immediately began searching the surrounding waters. They sent divers, helicopters, and rescue boats, but Sofia was nowhere to be found. The current had been unusually strong that night, and the water dark. Hours turned into days, and still no body was recovered. Kareem was taken back to shore and hospitalized briefly for shock. Though emotionally numb, he remained composed, repeating the same story. It was an accident. She slipped. He panicked. He tried to save her, but inconsistencies soon began to surface. The wound on his head didn't match the story of hitting the railing during the dive. There was blood found on the interior walls of the yacht's bedroom, more than an accidental injury could explain. The yacht crew, though out of sight, heard raised voices and something heavy falling. Meanwhile, forensic investigators began examining the items found on board. Sofia's purse was left behind, untouched. Her phone, too, was still on the table, even though she never let it out of her sight. Most chilling of all, the leather-bound folder with the printed evidence had vanished. Public, once enamored by the glamorous couple, now watched the scandal unfold with fascination and horror. Dubai's tabloids exploded with speculation. Was it a jealous rage? A carefully orchestrated murder? Or did Sofia plan her own disappearance with the help of someone else? Detectives refused to rule anything out. And while Kareem maintained his innocence, cracks were forming in his account. There was no clear evidence tying him to a crime, yet the questions kept piling up. Where was Sofia? If she had drowned, why hadn't her body surfaced? And if she hadn't, who helped her vanish? What had begun as a romantic escape now spiraled into a nightmare, one where the only certain thing was that one half of Dubai's favorite couple had disappeared, and the other was hiding more than. He was saying that the disappearance of Sofia Rehman sent shockwaves through Dubai's elite circles and social media communities. What was meant to be a celebrated honeymoon had turned into a grim investigation with no body, no clear motive, and no confession. Detective Fadil Qureshi, A seasoned investigator with a reputation for cracking high-profile cases was assigned to the unfolding mystery. He immediately sensed that beneath the polished surface of Kareem Al Zahiri's account, something deeply wrong was waiting to be uncovered. Kareem had maintained his version of events with a composed, almost mechanical repetition. Sofia slipped. He dove after her, but the waves pulled her away. It was an accident. But the facts didn't fully support his story. For one, the blood found in the yacht's bedroom raised red flags. Investigators found smears on the bedframe and drops trailing toward the bathroom, suggesting a physical altercation had taken place before she went missing. Yet Kareem had no injuries to explain the presence of that much blood, and Sofia's blood type matched the samples taken. Fadil expanded the investigation beyond Kareem, digging into Sofia's past. That's when Layla Darwish entered the spotlight. As Sofia's best friend and confidant, she was one of the last people Sofia had spoken to before the honeymoon. Layla appeared distraught in interviews, but when pressed, she revealed something explosive. Sofia had been planning to leave Kareem after the honeymoon. She had confessed that her heart still belonged to Zayn Arman, the luxury travel photographer she had dated before Kareem. According to Layla, Sofia had wanted financial security and public respect, which Kareem could offer. But Zayn had returned, promising love and freedom. Layla didn't approve but kept Sofia's secret out of loyalty. She had no idea the situation had escalated so dangerously. Detective Qureshi had his next lead. Zayn Arman was tracked to a resort in Abu Dhabi. At first, he denied any recent contact with Sofia, claiming they had broken up months ago. But digital evidence suggested otherwise. Phone records revealed several calls between Zayn and Sofia in the days leading up to the honeymoon. One call had lasted nearly an hour, just 2 nights before the yacht trip. Surveillance footage from the island's marina showed Zayn near the Fundy docking area on the same evening Kareem reported Sofia missing. When confronted, Zayn admitted to meeting Sofia briefly on the island. He claimed it was a final goodbye, not a rekindling of romance. He denied any knowledge of her disappearance and insisted he left before the yacht trip took place. But doubts continued to grow. A forensic sweep of Zayn's rented speedboat revealed tiny specks of dried blood, too degraded for full DNA results, but enough to raise suspicion. Meanwhile, Kareem's behavior became increasingly erratic. Though not formally charged, he was under constant surveillance. He withdrew from public life, avoided his company's board meetings, and even shut down his social media profiles. His once sharp image as a calm, intelligent businessman was now clouded by whispers of murder. With no body and no confession, the investigation was paralyzed. Fadil had pieces of a puzzle but couldn't yet see the full picture. Every theory had holes. If Kareem had killed Sofia in a fit of rage, why leave behind such suspicious signs and risk exposure? If Zayn was responsible, why would he allow Kareem to take the fall? And what if there was another possibility, that Sofia had orchestrated her own disappearance? This idea seemed wild at first, but when authorities retrieved encrypted messages from an old cloud backup on Sofia's phone, they found something chilling. Sofia had searched for information on false identities, passports, and remote locations in the weeks before the wedding. She had also withdrawn large sums of cash across multiple accounts, money that had yet to be traced. The deeper Fadil, the more tangled the story became. A simple honeymoon had unraveled into a web of deception, jealousy, and secrets. And somewhere, either under the sea or far away under a new name, Sofia Rehman had become the center of a mystery that refused to offer any clear answers. 3 weeks after Sofia Rehman's disappearance, hope for finding her alive had nearly vanished. The case had reached a standstill. Media speculation ran wild. Some believed Kareem had murdered her in a moment of rage. Others were convinced Zayn Arman was the real killer. A growing minority whispered that Sofia had faked her own death, escaping into a new life to leave behind the chaos she had created. But with no physical proof, all theories remained suspended in uncertainty. That changed on a quiet Thursday morning when a team of marine divers discovered a decomposing body trapped between jagged coral rocks nearly 2 miles from the last reported coordinates of Kareem's yacht. The discovery was grim but vital. Dental records confirmed it was Sofia. Her honeymoon had ended in death, that an autopsy revealed she had not drowned. Instead, Sofia had sustained blunt force trauma to the back of her head and clear signs of manual strangulation. She had been killed before entering the water. That ruled out Kareem's version of events. It was no accident. She hadn't slipped. She had been murdered. Kareem Al Zahiri was arrested the same evening. News spread like wildfire. Billionaire groom charged with wife's murder read the headlines. He showed little emotion during the arrest. Inside the courtroom, he pleaded not guilty, maintaining his version of events. His defense argued that Zayn had a stronger motive, that Sofia had planned to leave Kareem for him, and that Zayn was present on the island during the time of death. But prosecutors had something more solid. Now Sofia's body told a story that neither man could escape from. As the trial began, both Kareem's and Zayn's secrets unraveled in public. Digital forensics played a key role. Messages between Sofia and Zayn confirmed a plan to meet the night she died. Satellite data from Kareem's yacht revealed strange movement patterns inconsistent with a simple romantic cruise. Bloodstains matched Sofia's DNA. Surveillance footage proved Zayn had taken a boat out that night and returned just before sunrise. Then came the twist no one expected. Investigators obtained a warrant to search Zayn's storage unit in Abu Dhabi. Inside, they found an old duffel bag. Within it were blood-stained clothes, Sofia's missing phone, and a journal she had kept during the honeymoon. Forensic analysts concluded that the blood on Zayn's shirt matched Sofia. Her phone's location data placed her near Zayn's boat, late on the night of her death, contradicting Kareem's claim that she had died aboard the yacht. Under immense pressure and faced with irrefutable evidence, Zayn broke. In a partial confession, he revealed that he had followed the yacht that night, docking quietly at a nearby inlet. He confronted Sofia after Kareem retreated inside. The confrontation turned violent. Fueled by jealousy and frustration over her indecision, he attacked her. Kareem heard the commotion too late. When he returned to the deck, he found Sofia motionless and Zayn fleeing. In panic and shock, Kareem decided not to call the authorities. He pushed the body overboard, cleaned what he could, and constructed the story of the accidental fall. The court charged Zayn Arman with murder and Kareem Al Zahiri with obstruction of justice and tampering with evidence. Zayn was sentenced to life imprisonment. Kareem received 10 years for his role in covering up the crime. His reputation, fortune, and carefully built empire crumbled almost overnight. Dubai mourned the death of Sofia Rehman, a woman whose beauty had masked deep turmoil and whose life had spiraled into a triangle of deceit, passion, and betrayal. The honeymoon that once promised a lifetime of happiness ended in a grave beneath the sea. And though justice was served, the haunting image of Sofia's last night would remain etched in the city's memory, a reminder that beneath every perfect love story could lie a dark and deadly secret.